What's up, light bearers? Welcome to Light Tap, a Vivid Said podcast. My name is Melissa.
And I'm Emily.
And today we're talking about
growth.
Hey, you guys, this is the... I know that if you've tuned into our other episodes, this is the first time that it's just Emily and I.
With the new setup.
So it's just like the OG, but... new things happening. But yeah, we're super excited to be talking about growth today. We're gonna just dive in. Remember, just a disclaimer, as we do all the time, this is just a light tap into this subject. If you want more in-depth information, this is the perfect opportunity to open up your Bibles, read some commentary, read other books that can kind of help you navigate this word. But this is just a light tap into the conversation. So Emily will read the verse in English and then I'll read it in Spanish.
We are going to be reading from Luke 2:52. It says, "As Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man."
Lucas 2:52 dice, "Mientras tanto, Jesús seguía creciendo en sabiduría y en estatura. Dios y toda la gente del pueblo estaban muy contentos con él y lo querían mucho." So, Emily.
Yes.
We've talked about this in a lot of different podcast episodes, but we've been knowing each other for a long time. And I knew you since you were an annoying little kid.
Too long.
And obviously, you've known me since I was like a joven. And so we kind of known each other in stature. I mean, maybe the stature part... No mucho me aplica.
Yeah, like yes, but no. I met you in stature in other parts of your life. Not juventud. Let's make that clear.
Not like
more
actually
like
feet.
Matrimonio,
Exactly.
being a mom, growing up to be an adult. I didn't get to see you your youth. Your youth.
Wow, you straight up said that very confidently, like you were gonna say this right one time.
Like y'all already know we have problems in this
not
podcast.
Not we.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yes, you included. We've had problems in this podcast where we're trying to say something and we don't.
Yeah, it doesn't come out right. This is bilingual struggles. Like cuando quieres leer las cosas, no te salen ni en inglés ni español, and you just like whatever.
I always make this joke. I'm like, look, I don't speak Spanish or English. I speak Spanglish. Okay?
Exactly. So we're gonna mix some words, and it is what it is. Like, who cares?
Yeah. So like we were saying, like I didn't get to see Melissa grow up.
Yeah.
But I met her and everything else. From
then
on,
family members, like de los 10 años, if you met me at 10, the stature, ahí me quedé.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't want you to agree with that statement, but okay.
But on the other hand, Melissa did see me grow up from when I was like a annoying little teenager, as you like to
not even a
say.
teenager. You were literally like a child. Like estaban en las clases de los niños.
So like
until now. So I was there like since you were a kid, and then since you were a young person, and now that you're a young adult. But yeah, I mean, we've seen each other, like you were saying. Maybe you didn't see me in stature wise, but you did see me in like grow as in wisdom, maybe.
Yeah, porque en estatura no ha crecido.
But yeah, so what do you think has been kind of like a challenge in any of these areas, whether it is in wisdom, stature, or in favor with God and man?
Well, let's use me as an example, right?
Yeah.
I grew up with everybody telling me, "You're so smart. Oh my gosh, like you know it all. Like you have such a huge conocimiento de la Biblia. You know a lot." Yeah. And I grew up hearing that so much that like until I started taking classes from leaders in my church, and I started actually studying. When I would give class to the kids, I'd be like, dang, I know some, but I didn't know that much specific stuff, you know? Yeah. And I'm like, maybe I don't know it all. And it was so annoying because I always knew that. I would always tell myself, yeah, y'all saying that, but like I feel like I don't know as much as I should at this point. And then when I started studying and all these other things, I was like, okay, now we're getting to the real nitty gritty. Yeah, so that was
like a challenge. Maybe not a struggle, but more like of a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah. I think mine was definitely the in favor with God and men. Just because, again, I mean, we try to be as transparent as we can be, pero cuando estaba más joven, Era súper pleitista, which means de que me gustaba pelear con la gente. Me gustaba.
She was ready to fight.
Me gustaba. It wasn't like como que like no me gustaba, pero así era mi personalidad, sino también era como que me gustaba. Like, I'm like, si tú vienes contra mí,
we throw in hands.
Like I can go back to you in the same energy, like the same form. Y era algo como que like I was super proud of. Y no me importaba estar bien con la gente. No me importaba burn bridges con people. No me importaba nada de eso, because especially when you're really young, you're like, me vale todo.
Y a ti te gustaba probarle a la gente incorrecta.
Exactly. And so, like, cuando tú estás joven, cuando tú vas creciendo, tú realmente piensas como que la gente no va a estar ahí forever. Yeah. And you're like, I don't care si ya no somos amigos. I don't care si yo te hice algo súper grave a ti y te herí y te, like, whatever, like, te macheteé. Like, no me importa, because I got what I wanted, which was to hurt you, right? And I just don't care, like, we're not going to last that long. I'm not going to get to know you that long. But I think when you're growing up in church, this is your community.
Oh, sí. Para mí fue al revés. Ella no pensó que nadie iba a quedar en su vida para siempre. Yo fui al revés.
You really thought that everybody...
Yo pensé,
you knew that?
No, I for sure thought that, like, the people that were around me from, from age 12 to, like, 16, I thought they were going to be there forever. It wasn't until I was, like, 17, 18, I was like, oh, well... things are changing. These people aren't in my lives no more. Yeah. Fine, bye. And then I was like, okay, maybe not. People don't actually stay in my lives forever. And then I realized, even if they do, doesn't mean that they should.
Yeah. And I mean, that's different, right? But in my case, it was like, there are some people that maybe, like you said, that they're not going to be in your life forever, as in like closeness, but you're going to know them at some point. And so do you really want to have that bad blood or that bad reputation for the rest of your life? And burn those bridges. ¿Qué tal si in the future they have like a great opportunity and you want to work alongside with them, or you want to collaborate with them in any area? Now you have burned that bridge.
Exactly.
And so to get there, es como que like se te va a hacer súper duro para hacerlo. Entonces, es algo que like yo he aprendido ahora que tengo 30, que I'm a grown woman. You know, sometimes so eso me sale lo pleitista. But this is something that I'm really, really working with the Lord during this time, where I'm like, okay, God, creo que crecí en bastantes otras áreas, pero esta área en specifically, like, todavía me falta crecer. I'm in the steps to growing, pero todavía me falta, and it's something that I want to put as a priority, because I do want favor with God, right? Because I want to make sure that that I am, you know, even in the Lord's Prayer, which we heard that in today's preaching, de que if you forgive, then God forgives us. Yeah. Right? Pero yo siempre era como que like, I'm not gonna forgive you. Lo que tú me hiciste, I'm gonna take it to the grave. Like, I am taking it. And eso me quitaba favor with God. I feel like me quitaba ese como like, okay, how am I supposed to ask for forgiveness? You were basically doing like
a disservice to yourself.
Yes. And so now I'm like, no. And it's like, si somos luz y sal somos, tenemos que hablarle a toda la gente, tenemos que amar a toda la gente, porque tú tienes que tener ese amor para realmente ser como la luz y sal for the people.
Yeah, you have to have show that love. God's love. Exactly. And if you don't, then how do you expect to receive that?
¿Y cómo voy a andar yo en la calle like peleando con todo el mundo and then being like, hey, Jesus loves you, and I'm representing. Who am I representing? The hood? So that's been like kind of like where I'm at as far as I'm like a challenge. What do you think, or what do you get from this verse specifically where it says Jesus grew? Like, what do you think that this verse can teach us and maybe young people as they're growing up, like as this example of Jesus?
So from this specific verse, I read this verse and it says that Jesus, not only did he grow in wisdom and in stature, but at the same time he also grew in favor with God and men around him. Yeah. And I see so many times where people focus so much on gaining favor with people, especially men, like, oh, well, if I make this one friend, I can move forward in life, or I can accomplish this, I can accomplish that we kind of push God to the side. And we may be growing physical wise, but we don't grow spiritually. We don't get to grow closer to God, and we forget that should be our main priority.
Yeah.
And in this specific verse, it says Jesus grew in favor with God and man. So at the same time, not only did he grow mentally, physically, and matured emotionally, all these things, he also grew with God. He didn't push him to the side. He didn't put him in the back burner. And to me, I'm like, only Jesus could do that, because man, that's kind of hard.
To grow in all these areas at once.
Yeah, especially because, as you're growing, coming as from a perspective as somebody who works with children, you have to focus so much. Like, these are pivotal times, especially when they're young, to be able to help them grow to who they need to be and be responsible grown-up people. That you're like, man, but I also need them to do this and this and this, but I also need you to do this.
Yeah, like all the things all at once, because I mean, el tiempo va corriendo like super fast.
Pasa, y ni se mira.
I think that this was a great example that is put in the Bible, because first of all, Jesus is the example to follow, right? If we call ourselves Christians, Jesus is our example. It's como que like lo que we strive to be. And it says like, and it gives you an examples of where Jesus grew in his life, and Jesus being Jesus, like, let's start there. Jesus was fully God, fully man.
Exactly.
So it's like, if Jesus had to grow and grew in these areas, imagínate nosotros que somos nada más regular human beings. So these are the like examples of like donde tú tienes que crecer ahorita. So this is for all the young ones, like middle school, high schoolers. If you guys are seeing this podcast, esto es para ti. Si tú eres un young adult, esto es para ti. Sí. Si tú eres un fully adult, esto es para ti. If you're the more mature in your golden years, esto es para ti. Check yourself. This is the perfect moment. I love to do heart checks. But this is a perfect moment to do one of those. Heart check. Are you growing, or have you grown in wisdom, in stature, and in favor with God and men? Imagínate, Jesus being Jesus, fully God, fully man, he had to grow in wisdom. Because he was, again, fully man. Era un niño. Then it became a between, like a teenager, and then a teenager, a young adult, and then adult in his ministry, right? He had to grow in wisdom, how to know your audience, right? So I'm pretty sure when he was a kid, he had enough wisdom to like speak to other kids and like live a kid life y todo eso. Y así as he was growing up, in every stage of life, he was growing in wisdom. He knew how to speak to people. He knew what he needed to do, like as far as instructions. He in stature, like he knew his position wherever he went. He knew who he was. And in favor with God and men, being Jesus, fully God, he still felt that, hey, I need to have a close relationship all the time with my Father.
And then that responsibility.
Yes.
And not only
because he could have been like, I'm Jesus. I don't need to talk to my dad.
Exactly.
I don't need to talk to my heavenly Father for what? I was up there with him.
You're like, I already know all of this.
Yeah, like he already gave me instructions. I know what to do. I'm out here doing it. But he wasn't. He was like, no. I need to continue to build this favor. I need to continue to build this relationship. And then with men, he knew he needed to get favor with men, because this is the whole point of him coming down to rescue us, to show us his unending love. You know, not just with words, but with actions. And so you need to get favor with people para poder tú enseñarles that action part, right? Para tú poderles enseñar el amor a través de tú haciendo cosas.
Because imagine if he didn't, right? Let's say that Jesus was like, I don't need you to tell me nothing. I know what I'm doing. I don't need you to teach me the ways. I am the way. I know what I'm doing. Sure. And let's be honest, that was very true.
Yeah, I mean,
he could have easily
where's
said
the
that.
lie?
Exactly. He could have easily said that. But he knew, he's like, I am also a man. I am new to this world. Okay, yes, I know exactly who you are, everything.
I was part in forming it.
But now I am here as a man.
Yeah.
And now I have to learn how things work down here. I may already know, but I also have to learn what is right and what is wrong, las leyes, cómo ustedes hacen sus cosas, sus tradiciones.
Yes.
And imagine if Jesus God didn't, let's give an example. He was like, I'm too good for you. You need to listen to me, period. I am Jesus Christ. I am not trying to gain favor from you because you are a simple man and you will never understand. How is he going to be able to talk to these people? How is he going to be able to predicar a las multitudes about God if he did not gain their favor first? They would be like, we don't need to listen to you. If you're so high and mighty, you should already
and that's kind of what Satan did.
Yeah.
He did that to him, right? He was like, si tú eres el Dios, blah, blah, blah. Like,
if you're all that and you say you
make this
God,
rock turn into bread. And he was like, yeah, I could do that. Like, but you know what?
Jump from this mountain. Your angels will catch you.
Yeah. Testing all of these things.
All of those
all
things.
Of your wisdom as to are you really gonna fall into that? Or are you smarter than that? Wisdom, okay, me vas a hablar con Biblia, I'm gonna talk to you in Biblia. You gonna talk about stature, you wanna talk about position, o tú manda tus ángeles a que te vengan. No, I know who I am. Yeah. Yes, I can call them up and they'll be here real quick. But we're not gonna fight this. I'm not gonna bow down to you. Excuse
and that's
me?
The craziest thing where it's in order for him to have grown in stature and in wisdom and all these things, he needed to be humble and accept what he was learning.
Yeah.
Because if he didn't and he wasn't humble, how would he be able to be approachable or relatable to all these other people? Because all these
different
people,
ages.
exactly, all these different people, young, recién nacidos, old, or even people who were high and mighty in power.
Yeah, in different countries, learning their traditions and respecting that también.
And that's the thing that in order for him to do all these things, not only did he have to put himself in the shoes of the people around him and actually be like, okay, let me be smart about this. Let me become a people person. Let me be able to reach out to these people a way that they will understand. Just because I am better than you. I am God. I am all these things. I am the way. I'm not going to make you listen to me by force. I'm going to show you by example. And by then, only then, will you be able to listen and find the way,
And I think that, again, this is a perfect example of growing. And when I was saying, this is for all ages, because I know that cuando yo tenía 15, I would act like I knew everything of life.
I think everyone does.
Exactly. Yeah. Es algo que nos pasa a todos. De que we feel like, Mom, what are you going to tell me? What are you going to show me? I already know the way.
Yeah.
I am 15 years old and I can live a better adult life than you. Yeah. And then you get to adulthood and then you realize you don't know anything. So, you know what I mean? As jóvenes, we can have that humildad that you were talking about and accept, sabes que no lo sé todo. No he experimentado la vida no me ha pegado como en otras personas o como en otra etapa de mi vida. Entonces, I'm gonna learn what's around me. ¿Qué consejo me están dando que yo puedo aprender para yo no hacer los mismos mistakes? But then again, adults, and especially my golden age adults, sometimes they're very set in their ways. And they're like, what are you going to teach me? 30-year-old, 15-year-old? ¿Qué tú me vas a enseñar que yo no sé?
Exactly.
And it's hold on. You can, though. How they can teach you how to use a phone.
You need to find the password to your account. You're the first person they're going to go to. Can you look this up for me in the internet? You mean Google?
Exactly. So, I think que tenemos que todos nosotros poner esto en práctica y realmente aceptarlo con humildad, de que así como Jesús creció in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and men, también nosotros, en cualquier etapa de nuestras vidas, at whatever age we're currently at, that we also can grow in the different areas, and we should grow. Now, if you are stuck in your ways, if you are stuck in thinking that you know everything at whatever area, then you got a problem. Houston, you got a problem.
Because if you're already thinking you know everything, right? Like in my case, I felt like, okay, everybody's telling me I know everything, or I know all these things. I don't need nothing else. I don't need all these things. I would have never grown in my faith. I would have never gone that extra step that I needed in order to be the person that I am today. I may not be perfect. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. Sure, I don't think I'll ever be complacent where I am. I feel like as Christians, we should always strive to be a better Christian than what we are in the moment. But if I didn't actually take a step back, be like, wait a minute, maybe I don't know everything. I think I would have been stuck. I would have been like, no, I don't need to learn anymore.
And there's a lot of people that get stuck. I mean, I'm definitely one of those people where I have gotten stuck many, many times to where, like, when we were doing the English service at our old church, and I was preaching, I would get stuck in like, oh, I don't need to read daily. For what? Para ministrarme a mí? No. Yo estoy ministrando a other people. And no es como que venía con esa intención, pero it was like, now I can look back and be like, hold up, Melissa, that's why you burned out real quick. That's why you felt like you couldn't do that anymore, because you would never pour into yourself because you thought you knew it all and you had a solution for everything when you didn't.
And that's the thing, that in order for us to pour into somebody else, our cup needs to be full.
Exactly. First. We need to grow in order to help other people grow. And so, for sure, I think that, even in our prayer life, we can get stuck to where, like, we're praying the same words. Me pasa a mí.
Oh, for sure. Me too.
Where I'm like, I don't know what to pray, so I'm going to go to my regular prayer que siempre hago. But then I'm like, wait, what new am I bringing to God? How do I not have words? You know what I mean? And so you have to check yourself to see if you're getting stuck in prayer. If you're getting stuck in reading the Bible, if you're like, no le encuentras sabor, if you're just reading it, and you're like, okay, it's just words. Okay, what else can you be doing? Does that mean that maybe you want to, I did a preaching on Psalms 23, and the que habla de la sheep. And there's an actual book that explains to you el trabajo de un shepherd. And so you get like a better insight of what that psalm is saying.
Yeah.
And so
you get some context.
And so then you can, when you read that as a chapter, then you're able to better understanding and better like saborearlo and disfrutarlo and procesarlo. And so maybe it's time for you to grow in that area. If you already read it and you're not getting anything new from it, well, how about if you look into books or commentary or preachings maybe of like some pastors or some people that give good word that you trust, and then you can grow in that area. But I feel like you really have to analyze where you are now to determine where you want to be and see, one, you've been stuck, or two, qué steps you need to do para poder seguir avanzando.
And that's the thing that, like, it's kind of hard to do and hard to accept as human beings, as we're like, we don't like to refuse that we're stuck, or we don't want to be like, well, I need to do this in order to move forward. I remember there was this one specific passage in the Bible that talks about when Jesus was growing up, when he was a kid, and he would go to the temple to go listen to the preachers, to the leaders. He was like, I want to listen, I want to learn, I want to do all of this. But he knew it wasn't his time to go ahead and do that. But he was a kid, and we know kids have questions. Kids are very inquisitive. They're like, yo quiero saber esto y esto y esto. ¿Y por qué? ¿Y por qué el sol está tan caliente? ¿Y por qué el cielo está azul? ¿Y por qué la tierra tiene que ser tan negra y oscura? Y all these things. So Jesus was like, I'm a kid too. I got questions. Why this? Why that? But if you're saying this, how does that apply to us as Christians? And the leaders was like, wait a minute. You're not here to ask questions. You're here to listen. He's like, no, I'm here to learn. And I got questions, and you need to help me learn.
Yeah.
He knew his place as a child, and he was trying to learn. But in order for him to do that, he was like, I need to ask questions. But they weren't for it. And it's so crazy to me because by the time that he was asking questions, he was basically preaching to them. He was like,
ya que no me querían contestar.
Exactly. So imagine, he was like, I know in the position that I am right now, and I know what I need to do in order for me to grow more to where I need to be. But us, we're so stuck. You know, the older we get, the more we get stuck. We're like, we don't need to learn. We are where we need to be. We don't actually want to realize maybe we are stuck. Maybe we need to do more to keep growing. And until we're ready to accept that, we're not going to take those extra steps that are needed in order for us to continue in our growth.
Exactly. And if you're not growing, then what are you doing? Right? Because one, you're not helping yourself. Because you're not advancing, and then two, you're doing a disservice to you, and you're doing disservice to those around you who are probably trying to learn from you. But the way that you are gonna make a bigger impact in their life is if they see you also trying to learn, you trying to ask questions, just as much as un joven puede aprender de una persona mayor. Porque sí, like, come on, todos los consejos. I don't know if si te pasa a ti, pero I know for sure for me. Los consejos de mi mom, yo nunca los quería aceptar cuando estaba joven never. Because I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. That was in your generation. Yep. I'm in a whole different generation
this
now.
Is a different time, Mom. That doesn't apply to us
Eso
anymore.
Era en tu rancho. Like, I'm over here, like, in the U.S. Because, literally, o eso era en tu cantón. I'm over here, like, you know, allá no tenían ni agua or like whatever. Like, aquí vivimos diferente. But now, I am like, hold up. Aunque era quizás otra generación, aunque quizás era otro tipo de like surrounding area, todavía esos consejos me aplican ahora, and I can be like, actually there were some wise consejos in that thing that she gave me. And igual, so así como jóvenes pueden aprender de los mayores, igual los mayores pueden aprender de los menores. Y así los mayores, con toda la experiencia, con toda la sabiduría que ustedes tienen, pueden ayudar a los jóvenes. Pero ¿cómo los van a ayudar si no saben qué está pasando o qué se está moviendo? You have to learn culture. You have to learn the times too.
Yep.
So, with that said, we're going to move over to our Am I the Asshole
segment. You
already
know, we love this segment. It's one of those things that we feel like, you know, we can apply it to our real lives, you know?
Yeah.
Or we can sympathize, or we can even, you know, add some extra commentary as Christians.
For sure. All right.
Okay, so this one says, am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend living at home stunted his growth? So you got married really young.
Yeah.
You know,
I was 19.
You were really, really young. You know, you started your own life pretty fast.
Yeah, I did.
And then you ended up moving out.
Yeah.
So how did you...
Actually, it's funny because Oscar and I were talking about this, and I started taking care of myself. Se puede decir when I was like 16, 17.
So you basically stopped relying so much on your mom. You started.
I mean, obviously I lived in her house, and it was like rent free for me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to pay groceries or anything like that. Pero tenía carro, I had to pay that. I had to pay my own bills, and I had dropped out of school. And had done homeschool, but like for the most part, I guess you could say I was dropped out. So, I had to like really like grow up, and if I wanted anything outside of like living situation, I had to work for it. So I feel like that helped me when I decided to like get married.
Yourself for adulthood. Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, I'm not gonna live at my mom's house.
Exactly. So do you feel like she would be the asshole for telling her boyfriend, like, no, like, you living at home did not help you grow?
I don't think so. Because we had this conversation last week.
Literally last
weekend, where I was, you know, I think that sometimes that's a harsh thing for some people when they're receiving it on the receiving end. Pero because te están diciendo la verdad a tu cara, pero I feel like sometimes it's super necessary.
That's what I was gonna say. Sometimes it's like, well, somebody's gonna tell it to you.
Yeah.
Whether...
Y es como que levanta a la otra persona, like, hey, like, como que you needed to be like shooken up, like, levantate. Porque this is so. I don't think so because I have.
You're like, I've already done that.
I have, but I can understand from like if you're being told that, I can understand how you can say, "You little jerk." What about you? What do you think? Wait. What do you think?
No. You know, you did talk to me about this, but I think I even told you, like, as soon as I got my car, as soon as I got out of school, I started working for myself. My dad, he teached us from a very young age to not depend on people's money, whether it be boyfriend, sugar daddy, boyfriend, whatever. It doesn't matter. Never to depend on another man or another woman to support you. You got to support yourself if anything were to happen. So as soon as I started earning money, I paid for everything myself. You know, to this day, I still pay everything that has to do with me. And I pay for my parents' things, their bills, you know, healthcare, things like that.
Yeah.
So to me, like, I'll be real, I'm still living at home. You know, I've had moments where I have had to move out and I'll move back in, or like I'll be looking for an apartment, but it's something that I'm like, okay, this is my time right now. Yeah. So this is where I am.
I think it'll be different.
But I'm not going to be complacent. Just because I'm living at home doesn't mean that I'm going to be here forever. Like, time to move on, make some different plans. What are you going to do now? You know?
Yep. And that is where the difference is. Yeah. But let's read what happened here.
Okay, let's read. So it says, I've been with my boyfriend for 6 months and we are generally in love.
Generally? What does that mean?
So not all the time?
I know.
You don't like each other all the time?
Seriously? I mean, shoot, I can.
I guess.
I've been married for 11 years. I can feel you on that one.
Okay, but y'all married. This person is boyfriend and girlfriend. That's a difference.
I know, this is pretty new. Like 6 months, you're typically like blinded in love. But okay,
let's find out. My boyfriend had very protective parents growing up, and as a result, he spent most of his time inside. He doesn't know how to bike, swim, or cook.
Oh, Lord.
His mother stayed home to raise him, and he does everything with his brother. My boyfriend had his parents buy him a house, but he still eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner at his parents, and sleeps over 3 to 5 times a week. However, we've started to have problems.
Yeah, I can see.
An example is my boyfriend doesn't have a lot of close friends. When I ask him to communicate or check in, he says he's not used to it because he's usually at home with family who feed and take care of him, so he's not attached to his phone. In the morning, he's eating breakfast with his family, so he's too busy to respond. I asked him to help me make the bed. He doesn't know how. He has his first big work function. He can't answer his phone and drives home drunk. I admit it, I lost it, and I told him living at home has stunted his growth. He agreed, but we both realized nothing will change about the situation.
Wow.
Reddit, am I the asshole?
No. I don't think he's the asshole either.
You don't think either or?
No. I don't think so. I don't think she sucks. I'm not going to say that one either. I'm not going to say everybody sucks because I don't think so.
You don't think he sucks?
No. Actually,
look,
yes.
I don't think the guy
he's
sucks.
He's not the asshole, but I think he sucks.
I think he sucks. Let me tell you why. Because of the last thing that he said.
Yes,
he agreed. He agreed. He was like,
one.
you know what? I think it did stunt my growth, but nothing's gonna change.
Exactly.
So you're telling me you're making a conscious choice to not grow up?
There you go.
Because you're comfortable with people taking care of you. Okay, good to know.
¿Qué va a pasar cuando mami y papi ya no están?
Can you imagine? They bought him a house.
And you don't live in it.
And you don't live in it because you're over there you're over there at their house sleeping over, getting fed by your parents and all these things. Like, you got a job, sir. Like, can't you look? Hold up. It's one thing. Wait a minute. Now, I'm just saying this because I live at home. Look, it's one thing for you to live at home. I have overprotective parents. Super duper overprotective parents. Yes. Do I know how to cook? Hell yeah, I do. Do I know how to make my own bed? Hell, of course I do.
But wait, let's talk it how it is. En nuestra culture, la mujer siempre tiene que aprender, right? What about your brother?
That's true. My brother will cook for himself if he needs to, if nobody's home, and if I say I'm not cooking for you, make something for yourself. He knows how to cook for sure.
Let's go down the list.
And he has actually asked he's asked my mom, he's like, can you teach me how to make this and this and this? So he actually makes the effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can make his own bed, all these things. Like, that's not an issue for us.
Good. Okay, because that's what I was going to say. So this is how I see it, right? As a mom, if I'm his mom, I will feel good because I have my kid still, you know? My kid is coming around. He's spending the night. I'm seeing him. I'm feeding him. If this is what I did all my life, as a mom, it will suck the time where that time goes and he has to, like, does his own thing.
He's going to make his own life.
Yeah. So I'm like, as a mom, I would love that. Yeah. But I also know that as a mom, it is my job and responsibility to teach especially my son, to teach him how to take care of himself, to teach him how to make his bed, to teach him how to clean his room, to teach him how to do his own laundry. These are things that my 11-year-old knows how to do. He knows how to, like, if he wakes up super early and it's the weekend, because for some reason kids' alarm goes off on the weekend, not on the weekdays. No. And he'll go in there and, like, make his own, like, cereal. Yeah. But at least he knows how to feed it. He's not gonna starve to death. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he knows how to do these things, and I've told him, we had a discussion, depending on his behavior, his maturity level, the longest that he can stay in my house is 28. Okay, after 28 years old, you gotta leave my house.
And that's the thing, like,
you can come and visit on the weekend if we're here.
I think it's a great idea when kids are like, even young adults are like, yes, I'm living at home, I want to be, I want to have this time to, like, either earn money or help my parents out, or, like, they're not at the greatest health, or they're a little older, whatever. But it's one thing if you're living at home depending on your family members and you're not independent. It's one thing to be, it's one thing to live at home and be dependent, and it's another thing to live at home and be independent. Yeah. Because for tax purposes, I am independent. I am not a dependent. Yeah. So, and I think that's a huge difference.
I mean, yeah, definitely that's a difference. Pero imagine este hombre, porque a saber cuántos años tiene. Me imagino que ya es un adulto, over 18 years old, para que sus... Imagine, like, no tiene ni idea qué es trabajar duro para obtener tu propia casa. You know what I mean?
Like his parents bought him a house.
Yeah, like his parents set him up, and that's awesome. As parents, we want to do the best for our kids. Pero he doesn't even know what that is, to work hard, to kind of sacrifice some things, and then see the value of, like, man, me costó where I'm living. You know what I mean? And I'm like, it's okay to have communication with your parents as you grow up, because, viejitos, they want to have that. They want to be remembered and be thought of and all these things. So that's awesome. Pero again, ¿qué va a pasar cuando mami y papi no estén? What did you do with your life? And in this case, you didn't do anything, because this girl could just be like a short-term relationship. But what if a girl that could have been your wife comes along and she's like, hold up, I'm not your mama.
And that's what she's going through. She's like, we're in this relationship. We're 6 months in. And I'm trying to, like...
help you at least realize.
Yeah, I'm trying to build this relationship with you. But you're not communicative. You spend all this time at home when you have your own home. Like, you're back at home with your parents. Because why? Because they feed you and you can't cook. Okay, you can't even order your own food. Like, you can't do all these things. You need mom to make your bed for you because you don't know how to make it. And the part that I'm having, like, a big problem with, where I'm like, okay, he could be depending on his parents a lot because they were protective, all of this. Fine, whatever. But when I'm like, okay, he really hasn't grown up, he's still immature, it's the fact that, like, she even says, like, oh, he has a big work function, he can't answer his phone, he drives home drunk. What kind of person do you know that is irresponsible, drives home, like, he can't even call an Uber? Yeah. Now you're not only putting yourself in danger, you're irresponsible enough to put other people's lives in danger on the street because you're too drunk. You can't call a Uber. To me, that's an irresponsible person. It doesn't matter what age you are. Because now I'm like, okay, you really are responsible not only with your own self and your own life. Now you're responsible en totalidad with other people on the road. Exactly. So I'm like, this person hasn't grown up. No. And I think his parents definitely, I'm sorry, maybe because I'm not a parent, you can love your child and do the most and set them up for success, but you also need to set them up to become independent, responsible, grown people. Yes. And if you can't do that, if you have them stuck on your, I'm sorry, this is for mothers. If you have your child stuck on your breast and you never let him go, you never let him wean.
Yeah.
How is he gonna learn how to eat solid foods?
Yep.
They can't. They literally can't. This man, however old he is, which by the sound of it, he sounds a little older than I am. How will he move on with his life if he's stuck with his parents? If he's stuck where he is right now and he just can't move forward because he doesn't know how to function outside of his parents' home, outside of his parents' watchful eyes. He always needs somebody to land on to make sure that he's okay.
Yeah. Y esto va lo mismo con lo que we were talking about earlier, right? Obviously, having la comodidad at home makes this man not grow up. And sometimes in us, going back to like us living like as Christians and things like that, or like walking with Christ, trying to follow Jesus' example, nosotros también tenemos nuestra comodidad. A veces nosotros no queremos abrir la Biblia y estudiarla for ourselves.
Exactly.
We want somebody else to just be preaching it to me. And
somebody
so we
explain it to us.
So we leave it up
to as it is.
We leave it up to like on Sundays para que nuestros pastores nos den la palabra, and that's awesome. That is great. But we only rely on that word.
Do we open the Bible in the weekend? Do we do our research? Do we,
learn different things? Because in un servicio, like, yes, they're going to talk about different topics and things like that. But what about the rest of the Bible? That is up to you. This light tab, this is why it's not a Bible study. Because we're not going to just feed you and you're only going to rely on just a Monday.
Yeah.
No. Like, this is a light tab, and then
this
it's like
an open conversation.
It's up to you to open up your Bibles. It is up to you to go and read and dig in more. It is up to you and God, and that's how you're going to build that relationship with God. Pero si solamente estás como que like, no, I'm just going to, say that I'm a Christian and try to build my relationship with Christ, pero solamente si alguien más, porque también pasa eso, right? We're all in a circle and we're about to pray, y solamente le dejamos la responsabilidad to prayer of one person. So this one person is praying and everybody else is just with their eyes closed, pero no estamos durmiendo, we're thinking about something else. You're not even praying. So entramos en esa comodidad. How are we going to grow from that? How is it that we're going to be like, when it's time for us to build our relationship, when it's time for us to go into like lo secreto and pray to God, are we going to have words if we're always letting somebody else pray for us? Are we going to learn about who Jesus is if we never read the Bible?
Exactly.
It is up to us to start growing in those areas.
I mean, it's hard. Like I said, I don't think she's an asshole. I think it was something that was necessary. It needed to be said. And clearly your family doesn't really care enough to tell you because they like it where you are and they're comfortable. But are you gonna stay comfortable and be, dependent forever? You can't be. Not if you're trying to have your own relationship. Not if you're trying to have your own life.
Your own family.
Exactly. And I think with us specifically, we can't always rely, the Bible says it as well. We are the church. The church is not a building. We cannot always rely on somebody, on a preacher, on a leader, on a teacher to tell us the word as it is. We need to go out there. We need to do our own research. We need to actually put in the effort to learn and follow Jesus' example. But if we don't even know what Jesus' example is, how are we supposed to follow it?
Exactly. But this was a clear example. Jesus grow in wisdom, grow in stature, grow in favor with God and man. There you go. Si necesitabas un ejemplo, ahí está. There it is. So, with this growth episode, Emily, what is something that you can leave the people with? Your final thoughts.
One thing for sure, never try to apply too much to the man. Always put God first, If you put God first and let him help you, guide you in your growth, the rest will fall in place, But it's not up to just God to do everything for you. You have to take that extra step and make it happen. Because just because we call ourselves Christians and we say we are going to follow Jesus' example, yada, 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 doesn't mean that everything is going to be given to us. Yeah. We have to actually make that esfuerzo and make that extra step to have growth.
I think my final thoughts are and this is how we're going to close out our episode, right? I think, like I said before, at whatever stage of age you are in, you can still grow. You can still learn. If you're not up in heaven with Jesus face to face, you're not done.
You're not done.
So, como jóvenes, empecemos a escuchar las voces adultas, las voces con experiencia, con sabiduría. And let's try to, because I know it's hard, let's try to like listen and try to understand, and let's just try to apply it. Let's see if it actually keeps you from doing dumb mistakes. And, you know, and see how it goes. But trust me, there is wisdom in other people that are older than you. Porque if you're just asking your friend, because regardless, you're getting advice. And most likely you're getting advice from people your same age que no ni saben qué onda.
Haven't even lived what you're living through right now. They're probably living it with you.
Exactly. Like both of y'all trying to help each other out, and y'all in the same bubble. Y'all in the same boat. So try to listen to other people. Try to learn from other people. Not just from your peers, like in your same age. And then older folks, our age folks, or even like older. You also learn from these youngsters, because they are like the tomorrow. They are our future. You know what I mean? So learn from them. Learn what is going on in their world, and what we can do with all of our experience, with all of our wisdom. What can we do to help them out? And if that means that we have to step out of our comfort zone, whether that means that we have to put in more effort to learn more things, even though it's a challenge for us, even though you know, it can be uncomfortable, let's do that for this generation to come. And learn from that. Learn with grace. Learn with favor.
Learn with humility.
Learn with humility. Porque no lo sabes todo. Okay? What's your password? But yeah, so everybody, we can all learn. We can all continue to grow. Again, if you're not in heaven face to face with Jesus, you're not done. Hey. But yeah, that is it. Do a heart check. Check yourself right now. Right now, we'll do like a little 3-second silent moment, but do a little heart check. Are you growing in wisdom currently, right now? Are you growing in stature? Are you growing in favor with God? And are you growing in favor with men? Think about it. That is it for today's episode. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.